I never did like the club business, but apparently nobody else did either.
At the time that Tommy owned and operated the Cotton Club, which was in late 40s through the 50s up to mid 60s, Lubbock was a little smaller, sleepier town than it is now, and the Cotton Club was the place.
The legend on that is that everybody who was traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast, through this part of the country, would stop there because it's just a good place in the middle of the country to stop.
And if you're going to stop and spend the night, then you might as well play a gig at this big honky-tonk that, allowed 1,600 people to come in there.
I snuck in the back of the Cotton Club when I was in junior high school. And I remember seeing Jimmy Reed so ripped that he could hardly move on his chair, and his wife stood behind him and prompted him with his lyrics and kept him in the chair.
The most fun to have at the Cotton Club would be to go out when Ely was playing, because it was always wild and it was always packed. And they did have a dance floor.
The Cotton Club was really a fun place. That was just a wonderful thing to be able to play for that many dancers, because those people danced. And that was my cup of tea.
The first jam I ever went to was the old original STUBBS out there on East Broadway.
STUBBS was an amazing place. And he was a heck of a humble man.
It was just this little bitty barbecue place. Pretty small, really.
I don't know that they would really hold more than 100 people. They may get 300 people in there, but it was packed.
STUBBS was kind of the focal point, I think, of where everybody went and played and listened to each other and shot pool and became friends besides just playing music, And so it was a pretty amazing time.
There was always on Sunday nights, there was a long list of players. Anytime you went in there was somebody on stage, and the stage was about as big as a postage stamp.
Maybe one of my first experiences there was with the Panhandle Mystery Band with Terry, and it was right after he finished up the Lubbock on Everything project. We went to STUBBS at 108 East Broadway and did a performance there.
But I swear I was in there at lunch one time with my dad talking to STUBBS, and there was nobody else in there, and there was somebody sitting over kind of in the corner noodling with a guitar, and he said, well, that's Waylon over there. Because Waylon was at, I guess, Littlefield visiting his folks and had come down just to, hang out for the afternoon and not be in Littlefield. I could be making that story up in my head, but I swear that's something I remember as a child.
And that's where the stage was very small, so you just kind of had I think we set maybe the drums and piano on stage, and everybody else was just kind of gathered around, there. But that was a great environment. I mean, that was a wonderful experience.
For our generation, history started being made at Fat DAWGS.
Yeah, John Kenyon had Fat DAWGS and played there quite a bit.
Fat DAWGS had a big college crowd, and they had, like I said, a lot of good local or regional touring acts come through. So
Ely spent a lot of time at Fat DAWGS. With the Mange Brothers, we probably may have worked Fat DAWGS half a dozen times, and so it was a little different environment for us to be in. But that was a great place to go, and a great place to see touring bands.
Me and my band played there all the time. We'd play generally 3 nights in a row. We'd play a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Stevie Ray Vaughan played there with Double Trouble.
Fat DAWGS was probably my all-time favorite music venue.
There was another club that belonged to Carlo down the street from Fat DAWGS called the Rocks.
But the Rocks is a legendary place. There are a lot of really important concerts from artists that people don't know played here. U2 played Lubbock, Texas. in front of around 15 people.
And it seated probably 300, 350.
And in fact, Bono on The Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder mentions how you have to play places like Lubbock.
I think it's good though. The whole business depends on the survival of the fittest. And if you can't escape from whether it's Dublin or Lubbock, Texas.
Indicating you got to pay your dues in places like Lubbock before you can ever make it big. The Ramones played Lubbock at the Rocks. One of the greatest New York punk bands, the original Ramones.
And at the time, if Joe or I played any of these small places up to that size, they were always packed. That was a good spot to play, but you could not play there as regularly as you could in one of the smaller rooms.
At that time, Lubbock had these small, or small to medium-sized venues that featured original music, and that's what they were about. It was original rock and roll.
But we played so much, and we played anywhere and everywhere, from fraternity parties to people's living rooms to whatever. So we played a lot of places when we started going, really ramping up and getting serious about it.
There was a coffee shop called Renaissance that is where I met one of my best friends in Lubbock from playing a show there.
That was our big stomping grounds, was Daybreak, on 82nd.
Dunlops had a clothing store there. On Saturdays, they would move all that stuff off and they'd turn it into a stage. And so all the teen bands would play there in the afternoon, and everyone played over there.
We had Einstein's, you had even, small indie venues, like there was one called Tokyo Joe's that was more like a teen club. It was, they didn't have a liquor license, so, kids could get in and stuff, and they'd have bands, they'd have punk shows there all the time. And
Java House, where we used to play acoustic shows, that was off University, that was awesome.
There was a place right on Broadway called On Broadway. I guess it's where Cricket's is now, kind of in that general area. And we used to play there quite a bit, which was fun because you played right, in the windows, so people would walk up down the street and you'd be standing right there.
We played every piece of crap place in Lubbock that you could possibly play. But those were my favorite. Were usually the smaller shows, and like when we got to play all ages shows, because kids are so much cooler to play for than jaded 20-somethings.